Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it very much, and congratulations. You're going to make a great chairman. Uh, I have to admit, though, I was surprised that Congress let Spectrum Auction Authority lapse, let alone for 2 years. At least we can say that the House did its job in trying to reauthorize Spectrum auctions last Congress. But this clearly remains a top priority for members of this committee on both sides. As we move forward, we shouldn't just be simply thinking about reinstating auctions, but also consider process reforms. In the past, federal agencies have attempted to stymie auctions, sometimes even after an auction is held and bidders have won provisional licenses. Mr. Gillen, how does the uncertainty of post-auction agency meddling impact the value of a spectrum license, and what can Congress do to address these problems in the future?
Thank you for the question. You're exactly right. Bidders hate uncertainty. Capital hates uncertainty. And therefore, asking companies to spend tens of billions of dollars on an asset, there's expectations that they're going to be able to quickly then use that to deliver service to consumers. Unfortunately, that has not always been the case recently. I think it comes back to some of what Mr. Ronaldo said about the need for one voice and NTIA to make those calls. And ultimately, agencies and industry and everyone needs to live by that decision. And we need to get back to that place that you could help empower the spectrum experts at the FCC and NTIA to be the ones that have to make the hard choices among how all of us want spectrum to be used.
Thank you very much. Mr. Powell, in the aftermath of the historic double hurricanes that slammed Florida and North Carolina and other parts of the South, and the wildfires that destroyed cities in California, these communities need to rebuild from scratch. How will permitting policies impact rebuilding efforts, and what can Congress do to more quickly and cost-effectively rebuild robust networks in these areas, potentially allowing them to achieve a citywide network like Charter has done in Charlotte, North Carolina? If you could answer that, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, I think you mentioned most importantly that efficient receipt of permitting is essential. Our members often in communities run into situations which they're ready to lay fiber across an enormous expanse of rural, and you've been waiting for a permit for 2 years. This both happens at both the federal and the state level. I think there are other things about recovering infrastructure in disasters like in Florida and North Carolina. For example, how do we get poles back up and what quality poles do we put? Are we just going to put the same poles that blew down and broke, or are we going to improve those not only for withstanding the elements, but also being able to handle the expansion of broadband that we're all looking for in the BEAD program? We've had companies like Charter who've been on the ground in both in LA and North Carolina, have learned a lot about how we improve coordination with power companies and utilities to avoid infrastructure being cut after it's been restored, which is something we run into a lot in these situations. So I think Congress and local governments can play a major role in improving the way we recover from these disasters.
Thank you very much. During his first term, President Trump signed an executive order that streamlined environmental permitting processes for infrastructure projects, particularly highlighting projects to increase public safety. Due to this executive order, Pasco County, Florida, which is in my congressional district, was able to finally get a project shovel-ready after nearly 25 years of bureaucratic red tape, if you could believe it. This streamlining was eventually rolled back by President Biden. On Tuesday, President Trump once again signed an executive order significantly streamlining the environmental permitting process for infrastructure projects. Some experts are even suggesting this order could cut down permitting timelines from the better part of a decade down to 1 year or under 1 year. Mr. Gillen, historically, about how much time and money is spent on the environmental review process as opposed to physically building the networks to reach new customers and or improve service for existing customers?
According to the Commerce Department stats, it can take well over 2 years, which in often case is a decision of whether or not we're going to build or not. That particularly when we have the conversation, you dovetail spectrum policy, we're not getting spectrum out quickly, and then how quickly can we actually deploy it on the permitting side to get sites built to build networks further out. and that oftentimes the cost is considerable, but the time is really what hurts in our ability to actually build out these facilities as quickly as we want to. So I think any steps to modernize those permitting programs to allow us to do that more quickly with more certainty and transparency can be a game changer in terms of how quickly we can amplify what you do on spectrum.
Very good. Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.